Thank you. We are going to have 4 public hearings here tonight. And then that will be followed by the regular Plan Commission meeting. So you're good to go. All right. At 6:32, we'll begin the public hearing process. Can we get a roll call, please?
Supervisor Braun,
Here.
Commissioner Mouche,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Everly,
Here.
Commissioner Olhafen,
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker,
Here.
Chairman Osterman,
Here.
Attorney Macy,
Here.
Planner Sumwalt,
Here.
Administrator Nicholas,
Here.
and Engineer Lysis,
Here.
and Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
All right, thank you. So we have a quorum of the town board and of the plan commission. All right, notice was given that joint public hearings will be held by the Lisbon Board of Supervisors and Plan Commission on Thursday, February 3rd, 2022 during the regular Plan Commission meeting. Starts at 6:30 PM at the Richard Young Fire Station at North 54 West 26455 Lisbon Road, Lisbon, Wisconsin 53089. To solicit public comments on the following items. We have the first public hearing, a request for a major grading conditional use permit in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District for owner Pam Polyak Trucking related to new building construction on the property known as LSPT 0241.999.002. Right.
Pam is present on Zoom.
All right. So does the applicant have anything they want to present?
I think you need to unmute Mike Moore. He's representing me. If you could do that.
Trying to.
Sorry.
Hi, just a
Mike, are you
quick,
there?
yeah, I am here. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Yep.
Yes. So Peter
State your name and
O'Rourke,
address.
I'm Mike Moore, Moore Construction Services, W146N5850 Enterprise Avenue, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
All right. Do you have anything you want to present before we go to our engineer?
No, you're welcome to go to the engineer. We're here to just answer questions. Thank you.
All right. Are you doing this, Mitch, or is? Okay.
Let me just share my screen here.
Yep, you're on.
Okay. The Plan Commission has before you a petition for a major grading permit in conjunction with a site plan of operation, which was previously approved for an approximately 9,800 square foot new trucking facility. Anything in excess of 6,000 square feet in area for grading requires the major grading permit, which is processed as a conditional use permit. Want the comment on the grading itself, but there are some boilerplate conditions regarding the grading that have been presented for previous applications. There's nothing specific regarding this one that I have to add.
Sure. So for the most part, the grading plan is straightforward. We've prepared some engineering reviews specific to the plan that was presented. This has to go to the county as well for their approval. So we would be looking for any state or county approval, what was submitted, and those permit approvals after they've been received by the applicant. Our biggest thing that I would like to see, that we do have a regional storm pond in that area. The stormwater from this site is being conveyed through our stormwater facilities off of Richard Road and through some stormwater easements. But we still would need to see some type of stormwater management plan from the applicant because we need to look at this regional storm pond in the future for other areas that are being developed on what they're sending and what we can receive, not only by them, but in the future, some of those future developments. So that is the biggest thing that I see that we would like to see from the applicant still. I'm sure that with the engineering that they've already provided, they probably already have a lot of those stormwater calculations that we've requested. Other than that, nothing major that I see missing at this point.
Questions from the commission?
I just have a question. Do you, this is essentially a paved property.
That is correct. Yeah, all of it. Yep.
When you did this, the pond sizing, right?
Yes, we did.
Is it your sense, and I realize you haven't seen the stormwater report, that even the fact that 98% of this lot is paved, that there shouldn't be a problem?
It won't be a problem for this applicant. It would be that's why I want to see what they're sending so we can find out what it might limit some of our other future developments. So, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No?
No question.
All right, we'll open up this then to the public. Does anyone wish to comment on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
If anyone on Zoom wants to speak to this, could you please use the raise hand function? No hands raised on Zoom.
All right, last chance, anyone here? All right, we'll close that public hearing then at 6:39. Move on to public hearing number 2, a request for an amendment to existing conditional use permit in the PR Park and Recreation Zoning District for Tamara Wolfgram Songbird Hills Golf Club related to construction of a new pavilion area on the property located at West 259 North 8700 State Road 164, LSBT 0178.995. Applicant is here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I don't think it's appropriate for the Plan Commission to view this. I think that the public notice is not correct, not descriptive enough. And I would feel uncomfortable considering this item because of the deficiencies. There are 2 main parts of this, one being the expansion of the pavilion, but also construction of a building which is not mentioned in the public hearing or on our agenda. Failure of that, I think, makes it prudent for us to table this because we could be in violation of open meetings laws, I believe.
I guess staff, what do we?
Well, I think the commissioner did mention it to me prior to the meeting. I think first we should hear the clerk, why she worded it the way she did. I think she had reason for it. That may satisfy the concern, it may not. And the planner also had a comment, and then I can opine maybe after hearing their thoughts. Okay, would that be appropriate?
The reason that I worded the public hearing notice as I did was it is a request for an amendment to the conditional use permit in the PR Park and Rec zoning district for the applicant at Songbird at that parcel. Legally, I don't have to include what it's related to. I did just so that there is an idea of it. Since we've been talking about it, we've been referring to it as the pavilion expansion, and that is why I worded it that way.
Okay.
I would just add to that the description refers to the area of the site where the proposed development is taking place. So the pavilion area, which I have up on the screen here, is located to the east of this lower parking lot. And the proposed development would be taking place north of the existing pavilion and east of that lower parking lot, which the applicant and in our notice was referred to as the pavilion area.
So from a legal standpoint, it's a difficult question, and I think that's why it's a policy decision for the commissioners as to whether they feel comfortable going. The recent court case did give us some guidance. The more controversial potential issue is, the more detail that you should have on the agenda. Of course, we don't always know until we get here whether it was controversial or not, so it's hard to sometimes know that. But at least in the instances where we know, and we've had several over the last couple of months, and so we've been required. Under the law, that probably only had to say a request for an amendment to an existing conditional use permit in the PR recreational zoning district for Tamara Wolfgram Songbird Hills Golf Club, located at. And someone could argue that that would have been enough notice that someone would know that they're petitioning to amend the existing conditional use permit. And I have to say that many communities probably do that and don't give any of the detail they have. But since you've given the detail, there's a question of whether or not the detail is confusing. And I think the context of them, the staff was looking at is we're dealing with the new pavilion area. That area has a building, that area has new asphalt, that area has tables and chairs proposed. So it's the new pavilion area that we were trying to hone in on as to what portion of the property. They're not building new holes, they're not building new tees, they're not building new parking areas, they're building a new pavilion area. So I don't think there's going to be a right or wrong answer. I think you probably should just poll your board members and see if they feel there's enough comfort. The goal is always to make sure that enough information was given that the public would know, to have reason to know what, has the general sense they got what was going on and could be here if they had questions.
Okay. How many notices were sent out? About?
If I remember correctly, maybe about a dozen.
I will add one other thing that and I believe that the planner may be able to comment on this even better than I. I believe we had to finesse to a certain extent the staff report and the conditional use. Is this the one? Because they applied for only one tax key number. And this isn't a pro or a con. They have 3 tax key numbers. So if we were to have to renotice it, we could renotice it for all 3 properties and get the entire conditional use. But those of you who carefully read the staff report will notice that a portion of the conditional use is going to remain the legal non-conforming existing conditional use. And the only portion that's being changed is the 1 tax key number. And again, this was not caught early on. It was certainly not, I'm sure, the intent of the property owner to have a confusing conditional use, but that's the only way we could deal with it as a staff, because they only applied for the 1 tax key number and it's really 3 tax key numbers. So the only one we could amend at their request was the 1 tax key number. So we have that other issue that could be dealt with if we were to renotice it. I just wanted to share that with you because that might play into somebody's thinking, Mr. Chairman, as to how they like to proceed. I think as a staff, we would have preferred to have 1 CU and redo all 3 tax key numbers together. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Planner?
That would be ideal, yes.
Well, is your opinion the same, Jeff?
Yes.
Ed, what's your feeling?
I'm in this. Yeah, muddies the waters. I'm going to go along with Mr. Shea on this one.
Joe?
I agree with the issue.
Brian? Brian?
I'm actually okay with it, the way it is.
Becky?
I guess I'm okay with it, how it is.
How many properties are gonna see this? I mean, this is a pretty good size storage shed, I'm assuming. Mr. Meyer is here. I'm assuming he's gonna be the one most affected by this. The other properties were on the other side of 164, I'm assuming, correct? Were there any other properties on the east side of the road?
The one to the north, the one to, I know Myers were noticed because Songbird wraps around them. Unfortunately, I cannot get into my VM while I am projecting Zoom, so I can't give you the exact addresses.
I guess one thing I'd like to ask, Mr. Meyer, were you aware that there was potentially storage buildings that were going to be going up as part of this? If you don't mind stepping up, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but you are the closest person to this. This will impact my decision.
I wasn't prior to this associated.
You had no idea storage, you thought it was picnic areas?
Correct, that's a pavilion.
Okay. I am also going to stick my vote with postponing this, and I'm sorry. Okay, there will be no public hearing on this item tonight then?
And the staff is directed to renotice it for all three properties?
Correct.
And give greater detail as to what is being proposed.
Correct.
Is that our direction, staff? Everybody?
Yep.
Yep, there. Apologize to the petitioner. We had no idea this was going to be an issue, you know. But please work with Alicia, if you would, to come in and just modify your petition by adding the other two tax key numbers. And then we can proceed and hopefully this won't delay the use of the pavilion. We'll get it all done in time for spring play.
Let's hope so.
Okay.
All right, what was our third, now is our second public hearing, a request for major grading conditional use permit in the PI Public and Institutional Zoning District for Jeff Grove, Hamilton School District, related to construction of a new concession building on the property located at West 220 North 6151 Town Line Road, tax key LSBT 0241.997. We have, see the school district is here. Huh?
Paige, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, and then who else is representing you?
We also have Devin Cack with Plunkett Research Architects, as well as myself from Plunkett Research Architects.
Okay. Okay, Devin, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Paige will present for us and I'll be here for any additional questions. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Are they starting off? Are we starting off?
They're starting off.
Paige, you want to go ahead when you're ready?
Yeah, we are seeking a site plan amendment as well as a major grading permit for Hamilton High School, adding a new concessions building. And I'll pass it over to the engineer.
I assume they're in.
Devin, I think you muted yourself again. Are you there?
Yes, I am actually.
right.
So with the grading permit, we were curious if the engineer could go ahead and share their report. And then we're here for any additional questions. Thank you.
Sure. Again, this actually is a fairly straightforward project. The proposed development is for basically a 2,400 square foot new concession building with some sidewalk access areas. The total land disturbance, the reason why we're here tonight for the major grading permit is because the total land disturbance is roughly right around 15,000 square feet. So they are grading beyond that 30 foot from a normal building permit that we would be waiving any type of grading permit requirements. We really don't have any major concerns. We had some engineering comments regarding the plans, nothing regarding the grading itself, more so there's some some depths with the sanitary sewer that we were a little concerned with, making sure that that would still work with what they're presenting. Some minor notes that need to be revised on the plans. Otherwise, if this gets approved and once the construction starts, I would ask that you contact myself or my office to have someone come out and do an initial inspection of the erosion control measures that would be in place.
Anything else from our staff?
The building is proposed, the footprint of a concession stand is already there.
Hey, can you put your mic on?
Sorry. Sleepy time. Just a quick question. I'm trying to cite this building, the concession stand. There is already a smaller concession stand at that site where this new one is proposed, is there not? Isn't it right off their football?
It's right here.
Yeah, it's right off, it's basically at the, what would be the northwest corner of their athletic field, or one of them.
You might come on up.
I'm just trying to place it, sir, that's all.
I'm Jeff Grove. I'm the manager of buildings and grounds for the school district.
We've
The
seen you
new
before.
concession stand is actually going on the north side of the football field,
Okay,
kind of between there and the soccer field, so both soccer and football can utilize it. The existing concession stand is kind of down right there. So the new one, if you could point, is going to be straight north of there, right? Yes, right. in that
okay,
area.
right in that
Yep,
corner.
still but within that complex. But we wanted to push it a little further north so that both soccer and football can use it.
Sure. The building will have, I assume, will have restrooms
That is
fitted
correct.
in it?
Yep.
Okay,
6 restrooms for women and
Six.
6 for men. Yes, 6
wow,
for
what an
each.
upgrade for you,
For the participants.
for the
absolutely.
school, yes, because your athletic center is just east of there.
That's
That
correct.
we approved years ago.
Right.
Okay. Now I've got a,
Yep.
gives me some idea where this is, what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay. No other questions.
I have a question, Chairman. I assume that somebody has looked at emergency access to this facility in the fire department or somebody.
I guess I would give that to the architects, but I'm assuming so, yes.
That's the only concern I have,
And,
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, we are looking at the major grading
Yeah.
portion of this.
Yeah.
There's a roadway on the north side that leads right to it, so you can
Okay,
get
that's fine.
vehicles,
That's all
ambulance,
I
fire
have.
trucks, anything in there.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions in relation to the major grading for this conditional use? Anyone
Not on my part, Mr. Chairman,
else?
no.
Anyone on Zoom or in the audience have any questions on this public hearing or comments?
Devin or Paige, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I think that's all good.
Same.
We've got no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, final call then. Anyone else here? Hands on Zoom. Close this public hearing then at 6:56. We'll open the final public hearing, a request by Richard Swanson to rezone the A3 agricultural residential upland corridor and C1 conservancy zoning districts to the R1 suburban single-family residential UC upland corridor and C1 conservancy zoning district for the property located at North 94 West 23611 Hermitage Drive, Colgate, Wisconsin 53017, and known as LSBT 0150.020.002. This has been adjourned from the December 2nd. Is the applicant here or on Zoom?
Mr. Chairman, I have not heard back from the applicant. I actually haven't heard from him since December 3rd. This was originally before the Plan Commission in October, and the hearing was adjourned to December. Tonight's hearing was adjourned from the December meeting. That's all I've got.
Does anyone have any comments on this public hearing?
I believe we should read this recommendation. Did we get that in? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Do you have anything for this item? Do we have anything
All
prepared on
I've
the
got
staff
is
end?
the request for consideration I wrote up.
All right, the planner, you have anything for this item?
Well, what I'm concerned is the recommendation is somewhat different than normally. And if the commissioners had questions about the recommendation, I thought maybe we should at least
I'm
read
happy to read it into the record if you'd
just
like.
the summary. I think they all
Sure.
have the whole thing. We can go into greater detail, but you have a very specific recommendation. Correct?
At the December meeting, the applicant requested that the rezone public hearing again be postponed to the February meeting with the hope that this would allow enough time for a new proposal. Although there is no deadline for the town to act on the rezoning, town staff has not heard from the applicant since December 3rd. And I did also send him a follow-up email this morning just in case and did not hear back. Based on this, staff is recommending closure of the public hearing and denial of the rezone application due to lack of information. This will allow the applicant to reapply in the future if a suitable layout is found.
I just wanted to get that into the public record because again, it's a unique recommendation and get the plan commissioners an opportunity, Mr. Chairman, to ask Elisa or the planner or myself any questions regarding the recommendation.
Sure. Any questions from the commission?
No.
Jeff?
So on the part of the applicant, is there any possibility that the applicant is just simply abandoning the whole proposal? Or we don't know?
We don't know.
Okay, no other questions.
Maybe mind is getting a little foggy or something, but I thought we voted to disapprove this in
That was the
December.
CSM,
Oh, just the CSM.
just the CSM.
Okay. Okay.
All right, anything for you, Doug? Joe?
No.
Brian? Becky?
No.
Also nothing for myself. Any comments in the audience? Anyone on Zoom? Doesn't look like any. hands.
Anyone wishes to speak on Zoom, please use the raise hand function.
All right,
No hands raised.
final call. And close this public hearing at 6:59. That'll take us into our regular plan commission meeting at 6:59. We've already done call order. Brings us to citizens' comments. Does anyone have any comments on anything for the plan commission tonight? If you do, please step up to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. Anyone here? Yeah.
Name and address, all that stuff?
Yes, please.
David Meyer, W259 and 8598 State Road, 164 in Heartland. I was kind of here on a different issue this evening, but as far as the Songbird Hills, if I can't make a meeting in the future, I have no problem with her expansion. She keeps, it's tough to keep up with her, keeping the property beautiful. It's a very nice golf course and we love it around our property, so. The other issue, I just wanted to, I dropped off a letter in October, another time in December. I just addressed it to Mr. Olsman. I just want to make sure you got it. So I wanted to read it. This is just regarding our issues that we went through in the last couple of years with our field project. Joe, I said this entire process of attempting to get a barn winning venue up and running in the town of Lisbon has, needless to say, been very difficult and disheartening. I have a new healthy respect for people who actually are able to get businesses started. On 8/5 of 2021, the town meeting was not what I envisioned and was going to be because of the new town attorney finding a new parking issue that shut the plans down. The town planner wrote me afterwards and stated that my wife and I could go back to the board for a fee, of course, and requested the board change the parking ordinance. We did not feel comfortable doing this because of all the roadblocks that we have encountered up to that point, i.e. the fire department issues. We had a little bit with them. It ended up working out well, but permit fees, town planning committee, town board, required state approval plans, Waukesha County fees, town attorney fees, town planner fees, architectural fees, etc. After paying tens of thousands of dollars, at that point, there was a point where it just does not make sense to keep fighting anymore. And we don't have unlimited funds, obviously. I did not agree with paying the almost $3,000 of town planner fees and town attorney fees that were charged for trying to amend our initial proposal that was passed 2 years ago. I do realize the immense power that the people have entrusted to you and the board with, and know that it is extremely difficult to fight the government. I have had people suggest getting attorney and representatives. I did contact State Representative Branchett, which I know she contacted the town of Lisbon as well, office, and she just suggested contacting the newspaper to have a kind of a written sympathy article done to drum up support. We've had neighbors and others that have spoken out about the issues that we've been through. And we're basically shocked that what we had to go through, and they proposed just having a personal wedding venue, kind of on the side. I appreciated their support, but I politely explained to them that that was illegal, and do not even, and even though other locations around the state, we feel a couple of them most likely do that. My assumption is that they too have had issues with boards or town officials. I wanted to thank the town board for the vision that they showed initially when we presented our beautiful barn wedding venue. I have learned that you never know what the future holds. And I just basically at the end of the letter asked that, could you just do me the honor of calling me just to verify that you received a letter? I haven't received that letter, and that's why I came tonight to read it to you. Just, I know you've heard it now, so I don't know if you got it. I dropped off 2 of them, but that's all I had to say. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? Anyone on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Right. Item 3 is approval of the minutes. We don't have anything here to approve tonight, so we're gonna have that on the next meeting. Move on to item 4, which is unfinished business. A, discussion necessary action on the request by Richard Swanson to rezone the property located at North 94 West 23611 Herman Drive, LSPT 0150.020.002 from A3 agricultural residential upland corridor and C1 conservancy zoning district to R1 suburban single family residential UC upland corridor and C1 conservancy zoning districts, and recommendation to the town board of the same. Again, this item was tabled in 12/2/21. We had the public hearing on this item tonight. It has been recommended to the Plan Commission that we deny this. Discussion from the board, Plan Commission.
I'll make a motion to deny the request. UC Upland Corridor and C1 Conservancy zoning districts of the R1 suburban single family residential UC Upland Corridor and C1 Conservancy zoning districts. Property located in 94 W23611 Huntington Drive, LSPT 0150.020.002, and recommendation to the board of Commonwealth Assembly.
All right, motion by Joe. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
By Ed. You guys turn your mic on.
I will second that.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, item 5, new business. A, discussion necessary action on the request by Pam Polyak Trucking for approval of a major grading conditional use permit in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District related to new building construction on the property known as LSPT 0241.999.002. All right, we have the applicant on Zoom. We got our public hearing here tonight. Does anyone need another overview?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No? Anything staff wants to add? All right, anything the applicant wants to add?
Pam or Mike, do either of you have anything?
Nothing for more than what we've submitted. Thank you.
Is there a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the request by Pam Polak Trucking for approval of a major conditional use permit in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District related to the new building construction on the property known as LSBT 0241.999.002 be approved per also planning commission recommendations and planner recommendations. Excuse me, and engineers, sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
By Brian. Any discussion? Anything else from staff? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item B, discussion necessary action, request by Tamara Wolfgram, Songbird Hills Golf Club for the property located at West 259 North 8700 State Road 164, LSBT 0178.995, in the PR Park and Recreation Zoning District for the following: the amendment to the conditional use permit related to construction of a new pavilion area, and amendment to the site plan and plan of operation related to construction of a new pavilion area. So we obviously did not have the public hearing for this tonight. Would we need to table this, John, or just bypass it?
Staff, the minutes reflect that the public hearing was not held and so no action was taken.
So actually, the amendment to the site plan and plan of operation, would that have been? They could have actually discussed that tonight, couldn't they?
Yes.
But the applicant has left, so
Yes.
we're gonna take this as if they're gonna this time and move on. Any objection from the commission?
No.
All right, let the record show that we did not have the public hearing tonight. And thus, we are moving on from item B. Hopefully, it'll be placed on the next meeting agenda. Item C, discussion necessary action request by Jeff Grove, Hamilton School District, for the property located at the West 220 North 6151 Town Line Road, tax key LSBT 0241.997, in the PI Public and Institutional Zoning District for the following: a major grading conditional use permit related to construction of a new concession building, and amendment to the site plan and plan of operation related to construction of a new concession building. So the first one, the major grading conditional use permit that we had the public hearing for. Are there any questions or comments on the major grading permit?
None.
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, anything else from staff on the major grading permit or from the applicant? All right, we could take a vote on that one at this time if there's a motion on it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the action on the request by Jeff Grove / Hamilton School District for the property located at West 220 North 6151 Town Line Road with a LSBT of 0241.997 in the P1 Public and Institutional Zoning District for the following: item 1, major grading conditional use permit related to construction of a new concessions building. Do we need to vote on that separately from item 2?
Yeah, this is just item 1.
Okay. Planning Commission recommendations and engineering recommendations be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. Any discussion? Anything else from staff? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 6-0. All right. Item 2 then is the amendment to the site plan and plan of operation related to construction of the new concession building. Warren?
The applicant is requesting approval of approximately 2,238 square foot new concession building with a covered patio area. This is at the Hamilton High School. And, the details for this are that, as we discussed, it's going to be at the north end of this existing football field area. The design of the building is intended to blend in with the existing structures. Materials include roof face CMU, split face CMU accents, red LP Smart Side. Sorry, red LP Smart Side panels, asphalt singles with white aluminum fascia, gutters, and downspouts. As far as the site plan, the plan of operations are concerned, The approval would be for a concessions building with a patio, restrooms, and an officials changing room. There's no additional staffing for the concession stands. It would be staffed by volunteers from booster organizations. Hours of operation would coincide with athletic activities scheduled to occur on the surrounding fields. We discussed the architecture, the landscaping, no new landscaping proposed, and there would be removal of a few evergreens that are on the north end of that field. The building would essentially be providing any screen on that north end. We've got some specific conditions relating to the approval of the site plan and plan of operation. And those include limiting the use to what was proposed, the hours of operation, again coinciding with the athletics occurring on surrounding fields, prohibiting outdoor storage, and then we've got boilerplate conditions from there on out. Are there any questions from the Plan Commission?
Not I.
No.
No.
Jeff? Brian, Becky? I guess the only thing I have, this is not considered in the Sussex Gateway area, correct? So it is not under the same conditions that we have in the M2 area.
Correct. This does not have the design guidelines that the previous area we talked about were under.
Anything else from applicant?
Nothing.
No questions? Is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the request by Jeff Grove, Hamilton School District for the property located W220N6151 Town Line Road, tax key LSBT 0241997 in the P1 Public and Institutional Zoning District for the amendment to the site plan and plan of operation related to construction of a new concession stand to include engineers and planners' comments.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Brad Nelson? Any discussion? Anything from staff? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion and necessary action on the request by Jeff Osgood, Quick Trip for approval of a certified survey map to adjust the lot line for the property located at West 260 North 9579 State Road 164, LSBT 0161.999.004, and recommendation to town board of the same. The applicant here. All right, Doran. Doing order, I don't know who's.
So you have before you request for a CSM to create an approximately 5.732 acre property in conjunction with a conditional use permit and site plan of operation to construct a gas station and C-store at W260N9579 State Road 164 at the intersection of 164 and County Trunk Highway Q. The property is zoned B2, which allows lots as small as 1 acre and requires a minimum width of 150 feet and side and rear offsets of 10 feet. The proposed lot meets the zoning district requirements. The CSM does depict a private access easement in the southwest corner. The Plan Commission may wish to have the attorney review the separate written access easement agreement associated with that. And I'll defer to the town engineer to talk about any possible notes from the review.
So we just completed a technical review on our end of the CSM. There's several notes there that my surveyor has provided. We just made the markup right on the CSM itself. So before this document would be recorded, we would require them to resubmit the CSM for us to make sure that all of our comments, concerns have been addressed.
Question, Mr. Chairman? Does this combine both of those lots entirely? Because the CSM does not show,
The secondary lot.
yeah. If our ordinance
It's
doesn't
not
require
both,
that,
is
we
it?
need to fix it.
Yeah, it would end up being a 2-lot CSM if that's the case. Is it, do you know if it incorporates all of that secondary lot? I can't remember offhand.
It
I don't
does
think it
not.
does.
I thought
does
that they
not.
were
So,
just taking the
Yeah,
northern
so it actually
part.
will need a 2-lot CSM. I apologize for missing that. Thank you, Joe.
Once in a while I wake up. you know,
Picky.
But somebody in the future is not gonna know what the remnant parcel is.
Right.
So how do we proceed?
Orin, can you just check to see if, or Attorney Macy, does the Plan Commission have to waive their remnant parcel not being on the CSM as part of our code? I might be getting mixed up with my former, but I remember we needed the Plan Commission to waive if the parcel, if the remnant was not on our CSM.
I don't remember offhand, to be honest with you. It does state that there's part of lot 1, certain CSM, but it doesn't show that entire parcel of the remnant parcel.
I mean, this is somewhat consistent with everything we went
Have
through
been.
with the previous approvals.
Yeah.
It's just that this document is not complete. It's a drafting issue, but it needs, this can't be recorded. I have a question whether or not, could we approve this with that change because we don't have the document in front of us? I would be kind of leery about doing that.
The clerk might have some more information for you.
So we were contacted by the county asking if we would allow the lot line to be adjusted on that southern parcel. And initially, we had said, well, kind of, because they've already applied for a CSM to combine the northern piece of that southern parcel with the corner parcel at the intersection. So our response was, we would prefer not to do it with a warranty deed because they've already applied to combine it with the CSM. Scott Bentz contacted us and said, well, so state law doesn't require us to do it that way. We needed to do it to close. And we can't close, we can't detach it if you're requiring this. So, right, the CSM. So I spoke with Candy at the Tax Listing Division at Waukesha County, and she said it can be done to detach it just via the warranty deed. And then we would just be requiring the CSM to attach it. So it has already been detached. Now it's just being attached. Does that answer your question?
I understand what you're saying. I just don't.
And the
like way
county
it's being done.
Yeah.
Because a CSM should show what you start out with and what you end up with, so that somebody looking at that 50 years from now knows what the heck happened. And they don't
Right.
show the remnant parcel. But I am not that familiar with the town's land division ordinance, whether or not it requires it or not. It should. If it doesn't, it should be fixed in the future, but that's, I don't know. I don't have town's land division ordinance in front of me, nor do I. I'm not that familiar with it.
Well, I did, but another question, a different question arises if, based on the clerk's, but yes, I believe the answer to the question that you asked,
Madam Administrator, is in 20-148. I'm sorry. I'm in the- I don't have it, but I'm not gonna comment. Maybe the planner's going faster than I am.
So what's the issue? Oh, this parcel and this parcel. Yeah. One from that.
I think what Elisa was trying to say was that the county already split that portion off, so there isn't a remnant. It was two separate, the original was split by the county to two separate items, separate parcels. And then they're adding that smaller parcel to their other parcel, so there isn't a remnant in that case.
I'm on the tax site right now and I don't see this.
Well, it takes,
Because they're waiting for the CSM to.
So they haven't technically done it now. We need to be very,
yes or no?
there is no yes and no.
No,
There is, they
yes
did it or
or
they
no.
didn't. Is this all in writing?
They are holding it until they get the CSM.
So it's
So
just
that it can
still a rest.
Still be done for the 2022 tax year. Otherwise, it couldn't be done until the 2023 tax year. And that was the reasoning for doing that.
So it isn't a remnant, so I take that back. I mean, there still is a remnant.
We can't.
Take that back.
I mean, that's an
For all the
8 acre,
controversy on
8.5
this, we
acre
can't.
parcel to the south. I mean, it's not gonna be a small parcel, and I mean, they are adding it. I mean, this is gonna be a no-brainer personally, but it also has to be done correctly.
You can't have a detachment without an attachment somewhere else. Because otherwise you're creating an illegal lot. And does that have a tax key, by the way, if they divided it, if they detached it? Does that,
Currently,
It would have, but they are processing them at the same time.
no, I mean that little tiny piece. Does it currently have a tax key?
No.
Because it
No.
can't be, it is an illegal lot. When you have a detachment, you have an attachment at the same time. That's what it means, detachment and attachment. It's supposed to be just one smooth thing. I don't understand that we can approve this saying that this is not a detachment. It is. That's why you need the whole.
you need a
whole-
two
Show
lot.
both parcels
yeah,
on here and what
lots.
happens.
Yeah, just can you initially approve it with just
All
having
right.
them show that, because there's other items that still need to be addressed.
Okay, let me walk through, and for many of you who have been on the plan commission for a long time, as well as everybody in the room. Okay, we start with the code and what we have jurisdiction over, right? We do not have jurisdiction unless our code says we have jurisdiction over the sale or exchange of parcels of land between owners of adjoining property if additional lots are not thereby created and the lots resulting are not reduced below the minimum sizes that meet all specifications required by these regulations, the zoning ordinance, and other applicable laws and ordinances. It's a state law and it's incorporated into your local ordinance. Everybody knows that, right? Many communities, and I do not find it in your code, have said, okay, we understand that's the law, that you can do exchanges, but we still have to look at it. That's why Candace contacted you to find out whether you have a provision in your code that requires plan commission and board approval of exchange of property between property owners or sales between property owners. I cannot find that provision. That would have had to have been done recently because that's a relatively new concept. The Attorney General said, albeit that you
can't stop sales or exchanges, you can review them and require approval of them just to make sure that they're legal, okay? But I can't find that in the code. So what they did is they sold between each other. They sold a portion to Quick Trip and they put a note on it. No new tax key number can be issued. No new parcel can be created. This has to be attached to tax key number blank. Okay, so they probably did, I'm giving them the benefit that they did that right. If it's not, then you're right, Mr. Commissioner, it would have gotten its own tax key number, albeit it's a tiny little parcel. But you can avoid that by putting that note on the deed. Okay, so assumedly then Candace gets that deed, which she's required by law to file, but she has a courtesy contact the community to say, to the best of your knowledge, did they follow your laws? Okay, if we had the provision that said, no, it had to come to us, Elisa would have advised Candy, no, they had to come to us for an exchange, and she would have returned it to them saying, I'm not accepting your deed because you have to go and get approval from the community. Elisa advised her, we have no such provision. They are doing a certified survey map to get rid of that internal lot line. So we're just giving you all the knowledge, and she put it into what she calls her holding bank until she gets all of the data, and then she releases it from the holding bank. So it's in the computer. It's not going to show up, as you say, Mr. Chairman, on there because it's in a reserve area waiting for completion and information. So she's accepted the deed, but she's not releasing that information or changing the website until she gets the CSM. So they're not required. I can find no provision in here based on the fact that the sale or exchange has already occurred. They wouldn't have to do a CSM unless they want to get rid of the internal lot line, and they can't build within so many feet of it. They don't eliminate a lot line by doing an exchange sale between two property owners. The lot lines continue to exist and they have to meet the side yard setbacks, easements, everything of those lot lines. So the proper thing is to do the certified survey. So based on what I've quickly been able to review, they were allowed to do the exchange, the sale. The sale has been consummated and now they're just doing a CSM to eliminate the internal lot line. And I'm certainly willing to answer any questions or if anybody knows anything else. The original comment that if we allow, really what you'd have to do first is change the code to say we want to look at sales and exchanges. And then you'd be able to, as part of that, require remnants, But in this case, it isn't really a remnant because they've already sold it. It's not like, I own a farm, I own 40 acres and I want to chop off 5 acres. Then you have a remnant. Because if you only came in with the 5-acre CSM, you got a 35-acre remnant, right? That's the one Mr. Everly was referring to that some codes say, if the remnant's over 20 acres, you can ask for a waiver of the remnant not being shown on the certified survey. We can find none of that in this code. But this is not technically a remnant, believe it or not, because they've sold it and it's just there's an 8-acre parcel and there's their parcel. And their parcel has a lot line running through it. They want to eliminate by the CSM. But if I've stated anything different than the way others have understood it, I'm more than willing to learn. More than willing to hear what I'm missing here.
Comments from the board, Jeff?
If it's legal, I guess I don't like it. If we have to prove a CSM, cannot we say, well, we want to see the lot below it on that CSM?
Well, if it's a 40-acre farm and you got 5 acres you're chopping off, yes. But right now, that would be like saying, I bought some land from my neighbor and I want some other neighbor's property to be on my CSM. This 8-acre parcel has nothing to do with this now because the sale's been consummated.
That's what the problem is, because it was done. It should have been done the other way. They should have created the CSM and done the warranty deed as part of the sale process. But if we don't have a provision in the land division ordinance, the town of Lisbon, And I suppose we have to live with this. It's not right, in my opinion, but there's probably nothing we can do about it. This, to me, is a terrible way of mapping. It's because in the future, somebody's gonna have to do a lot of research to figure out what's left of the parcel that this CSM took a piece of. And it's not clear in the records without a lot of research, but if we don't have it, the provision in our land division ordinance to require that, which needs to be updated then in the future, then I guess we have to live with this.
Commissioner, we can add that to our list of
Yeah.
changes that need to be made. And as soon as we start reviewing our land division and zoning ordinance again, we can add those types of fixes. Thank you.
Mitch, you had commented that maybe you thought we missed something. What's, after my review, do you have what's your? And now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you had made that comment and I don't want to ignore your comment.
No, I mean, after hearing your review, I can understand, and I understand both sides of this, but if that's where we sit by state code and our local ordinance doesn't address it, then I think that it could be accepted the way that it's presented right now, with the exception of our other notes that we do have in there. Because those are specifically from state code and our local ordinance.
Why is there an easement on this property?
It came from the plat of 164, which used to be F, and that's, they wouldn't allow access to that, to the lower parcel without that easement. That's part of the whole history of these two lots. We went through, that was shown on some of those documents when we went through the whole quick trip scenario, and say, I remember that.
Okay.
Right. I'm looking at our zoning map. I'm looking at how much, I just figured out about how much land is left. Looks like there's about 6.28 acres left. It's zoned, the remnant parcel is zoned A5, so it's gonna meet that description. The zoning line appears to follow on our zoning map where this lot line is going to be now, very closely. So
How'd that happen?
I'm sure that had some design in it there. So it's the B3 zoning. Is that B3 or B2? B2, the B2 local business zoning appears to really follow. I mean, I can't tell on 100%, but it's close. Yeah, this is backwards, but the end result is going to be the same when this is done. We just aren't going to do this again in the future. Right.
It has to do.
So I feel personally, there's no reason to hold up the applicant at this point. In my opinion.
I'm going to ask Mr. Chairman, if we may, that we add a condition that it's subject to further review by the staff to make sure that, you know, we don't have any provisions. I see another issue. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. The current 8-acre parcel is a lot 1 of a CSM. I don't know if you can amend a CSM by doing the exchange. I'm not a surveyor.
I'd like to talk to my surveyor as well.
So the best we could do tonight is we could have the plan commission approve it or make a recommendation to the town board to approve it, subject to further review by the staff and all other conditions in the staff report. Further review by the staff as to whether or not this parcel can be created by a 1-lot CSM.
So moved.
Second.
Joel Schmidt, followed by Joe Eberly. Discussion.
Attorney Macy, can you say that one more time so I have it down properly?
Well, I said that it's a recommendation by the plan commission to the town board to approve the certified survey map, subject to further review by the village staff as to whether or not the lot can be created as a 1-lot CSM.
Joe, people make mistakes.
Got it.
And
Thank you.
all other staff conditions. I may have said, did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. As well as all other previously indicated staff conditions in the staff report.
Renova Village.
Discussion.
I just Thank you, Attorney, for somewhat clearing this up. Commission members to my right and to my left have pointed out some very finite things that, quite frankly, I am still trying to wrap my head around. But I know we need to get this right because we all in this room know how contentious this was for the company, Quick Trips, Inc., et cetera.
Luckily, this is just a CSM and has no bearing on that whatsoever.
Exactly, but you know, if there's an opening, there might be problems. So I'm just hoping there isn't. That whatever needs to get corrected will be corrected.
Kathy?
Chairman and Commissioners, would you like us to start working on this land division ordinance change or wait until we do ordinance changes in 23?
I think we can wait and just do it all because in my opinion, things are so interlaced that you start dealing with this over here, you push it in here and it comes out there. I'd rather deal with the whole plethora of stuff.
Okay, we'll put it on our
As much
list.
of a headache as it is, but it's gotta be done.
There's a
That's
motion.
my opinion. It's
No,
not sacrosanct.
Any other discussion?
no.
All right, motion on the table that has been seconded. Everybody understands this motion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
All right, item E, discussion only regarding preliminary draft documents related to proposed amendments to the various sections of the Lisbon zoning code regarding parking regulations.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed what's before us tonight. I believe it's an adequate stopgap measure until we can further define this thing in the future. I think this will take care of the immediate needs that we have, and we can go on from there.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as I read it, it says it changes, the proposal changes the minimum requirement from 3 spaces per 100 square feet of floor space to 1 space for each 200 square feet of gross floor area of customer sale and service, plus 1 space per employee of the largest shift. Which is fine, I guess, but I'd like to know what the impact is. In other words, if we, under the existing zoning, how many spaces would be required? And under the new proposal, what does that number become?
On the existing,
Well,
so you're
again,
talking about the proposal, like the Polyak proposal.
Yeah, well, as an
Because
example,
technically this is a,
well, this
obviously
is,
that spurred this, but
yeah, I mean, this is for retail though, isn't it?
Right, that's the one that was changed.
This is Casey's and the prior, the prior Quick Trip as it now interrelates with the new Quick Trip. The prior interpretation. So I think the question is, if I may paraphrase it, is would this, is this consistent with the parking that we required, or our predecessors, I should say, required for Casey's and the other Quick Trip? That was part of our goal. You or your predecessors made a decision that the parking that was allowed or was in place or proposed for the prior Quick Trip and Casey's was adequate. Albeit the code would have required more. Okay, so I thought our charge was in large part was to go back and look at that and to come back with a recommendation that would be consistent with the prior policy decisions. But I don't want to put Lauren on spot if that's not the directive he gave and he just looked at other codes and things. So why don't you take it from here?
Well, I would just say that Beerbicker did do that work. And there were tables that were presented at previous meetings to the Plan Commission, comparing all of those previous uses and the Quick Trip use. And this is actually their proposal, as I mentioned in the review, to fix that issue. And All both did was narrow the scope of their original proposed amendments to this one particular item.
So that's not necessarily a full answer to your question. The prior reports from our prior planner did do that review as to what our current code would allow for these sites, what the policies were that were placed on the other two that you approved for those, and what other communities require. If I heard you.
My fellow commissioner did the math for me
That
here.
was given to me by staff.
Oh, that was given to me by staff. Old Code 90 reduces that to 63. Does that 63 also include the parking underneath the canopy? Did the old code count that in that 90?
Yes,
Okay. So it's a reduction of,
parking place is a parking place, whether it's under, by the gas pumps or not. That's that's what it says.
So it says they added the language here for that.
well, I know it's.
Yeah, that's-
they added
that's-
language.
Clarification.
That's new language to clarify that point, that the areas under the canopies can count towards that requirement.
And but it did previously too?
It was interpreted that way, that a park, if you parked, what it was explained to me by staff and previously in my life, if a car is parked, a car is parked, whether it's getting gas, and somebody walks into the business and buys a loaf of bread, it's still a parking place.
And the requirement that it's only including the gross service area?
That was the change in this proposal
Right.
for us tonight.
Yeah, and that,
One was gross and the new one is service area. So
right,
the kitchen and other
storage.
storage areas is not counted as the square footage for calculation of parking places.
okay. I don't know if that would matter a whole lot, but yeah, this is new to me. I hadn't seen the, or why those other actions were taken. So in other words, you approve these things that weren't really consistent with the requirement.
So
which
we had
is-
talked like a lot of these
Yeah,
parking.
I'm sorry,
restrictions-
this is educational for me
Yeah.
here. 'cause
A lot
I
of these
wasn't-
parking things don't make a lot of sense for
Yeah. Well, I
different
noticed,
areas.
I noticed
because-
some of them are changed for like for retail, but the other areas still have the same kind of requirement that, the old has. So this is a stopgap measure, is
Right.
what you're saying.
That's what I mentioned. I believe in the future, this is going to be cleaned up along with lighting and there's going to, assuming, famous word, that there's going to be more delineation of different types of businesses and other facilities
Yeah.
than there's just a few in here. There's going to be more, and I assume it's going to be a table.
Yeah.
It's going to make life easier for a lot of people.
Yeah. I quite frankly don't like this type of approach. Well, we have a certain thing going on here, so we're going to make this change for that particular purpose. That kind of just rubs me the wrong way. Undue expediency, I guess. is-
Well, if I can comment to that, the national trend in parking standards is actually moving towards having less of a minimum requirement. That's nationally. Some communities are going as far as to remove minimum requirements altogether. And so it's not, we're not moving in the wrong direction by altering the retail business establishment requirement to have a lesser standard. That's actually on point with national trends of what other communities are doing
For gas stations,
across the board,
for everything.
for everything.
Schools,
The,
factories.
the trend in planning is to lessen the minimum requirements for parking, for off-street parking across the board.
Having personal experience in this, I can tell you what makes sense for one business of, let's say, 5,000 square feet does not necessarily make sense for another business of 5,000. square feet.
Absolutely.
And somehow you end up with a parking lot twice the size of your building
Mhm.
when you only need 4 spots.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
very arbitrary.
And the opposite works the other way too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never have enough.
I mean,
Right.
McDonald's needs a lot of spots.
But not today, if you go by the McDonald's as an example.
Under normal conditions.
Yes.
You know, a restaurant or a
There's
McDonald's
nobody
with
in
so
there.
many feet
That's
needs
why
a
you
lot of
can't get a
spots.
cheaper.
Where a gas station may need less, or let's say a parts store, let's use them, would need a lot less, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, but the code covers all of it,
Right.
so. it's
Yeah, one
this is-
size does not fit all, of course.
Right.
So as.
I like
commis-
the idea
as
of not
Commissioner-
having minimum standards at all, to be quite honest with you.
What a surprise. Oh, sorry.
As Commissioner Everly previously mentioned, we have a goal of bringing forward at a later date a more comprehensive amendment to the off-street parking standards that would definitely provide, I think, a more transparent and easy to understand way of looking at the parking.
I do know that the quick trip on VV is often, I can't find a spot there
We're busy.
in the mornings.
That's my
I think it-
backyard.
But depends on the time of day.
Yeah, I know. Soon.
But it's, if you had a, I mean, one gas station that's crazy busy, you could have exactly the same size and parking lot of another gas station and they're never busy. Some of them have figured out a model that just seems to draw people,
Right.
but I would agree. I mean, I've been to a few,
Well, it's more than a gas station, obviously. I mean,
Yeah. but I mean, it's
That's,
amazing how busy they are in a lot of aspects, but. Okay. Does anyone, I guess, have any suggestions for improvements or changes or good with this one?
yeah, I'd like to have it more comprehensive, but I understand the need.
Ed?
Fascinating discussion, because obviously one size does not fit all. And with continuing trends of transportation in our region and the increased size of vehicles or EV vehicles in the future, who knows?
Joe, anything else?
No, I do not.
Brian?
No, sir, I don't either.
Becky?
No, I don't have any trouble with it.
All right. Item F, then is discussion only regarding preliminary draft documents related to proposed amendments to various sections of the Town of Lisbon Code regarding lighting regulations. It's kind of all went together here.
Do we have to vote? Oh, we're not. voting.
No, we're voting.
No, just a recommendation whether we want to take both of these.
So we've got a proposal to amend the lighting standards. This comes from addendum E. These are specific to the area that we talked about earlier that has its own design guidelines. It's the joint gateway area between Sussex and the town. And this is providing for an opportunity, given the appropriate project scale and setting, that the Plan Commission could approve pole lights that are taller than 18 feet, as the code currently is limited. This would address the concerns that were raised for the approval of the Polyak site plan and plan of operations.
I have a couple of questions, Warren. In C, parent C, well, there's a typo in the second line, but it goes first in the JPC is a Joint Plan Commission. Why is it, where is that coming? It says upon approval of the JPC.
Yeah, we actually don't currently have.
That's the original language,
I know.
the way
that's
that,
what I
this,
wonder if anybody know what.
the way that this addendum was written. So we can strike, if you want to make that part of the motion, the JPC part, and just, we could replace that with,
Going down in E, it
we
refers to JPC.
so we could replace that with Village of Sussex? Is there a,
Why would- Do they have that jurisdiction?
They would in this one, this is our gateway.
Okay.
And so we would have to make this change in our design standards. So we would have to meet with Sussex after the plan commission makes their decision, after the public hearing, you make the decision on this, then we would meet with Sussex. Probably not before the 26th of April.
So, but this covers code in our entire
Yes,
town, but for this one instance, it has to pass the design standards.
right. So
from the
we can
village.
take out the
Okay,
JPC, but
that's-
in this
Then
situation,
The next question I have, and I was not here in December for the public hearing on the trucking site. What was the reason given for having light poles in excess of 18 feet? Because what I'm concerned about is, and I realize this is just discussion tonight, somebody putting in light towers like the DOT uses, because they only need one, as opposed to 20 other lights in a large parking area?
Yeah.
What?
her,
Height of the trucks.
right,
But the
when
trucks
they,
aren't 18 feet high.
but when they lift it,
You would have to have an absorbent amount of light poles.
Because what I'm concerned, it gets, when I was looking at this weekend, I started thinking about this. As an example, if I had a quarry and I'm down 80 feet in the ground in my quarry, and I'm gonna put a light up, and I could understand putting a light pole up that's 50 or 60 feet high because I'm down into a hole. Not with this. I realize this again is an interim fix or something. I think that's one thing we gotta take into account and do the proper wording. Because when I see things as in parent D in the second line, says the mounting height for small parking lots. We could spend till 3 o'clock in the morning here at a public hearing having a discussion about what constitutes a small parking lot. I
Correct.
mean, those are the types of things that just give me high.
But that's existing language. We're not
I
proposing to amend. I agree with you.
I mean,
It's
we
something
need to-
that's up for interpretation, right?
Right.
What's a small parking
We
lot?
need to really clean this up and be more specific in this stuff, because I can see a case where you could have a 60-foot high light and it wouldn't even be above the ground surface.
but but it does say that to go over the 18 feet, you can do that by plan commission
Right,
approval.
I saw it.
So the plan commission would still have a say in a 50-foot light.
Okay.
And because of where this applies, so this is for the special use districts within the town. There must be some of those that have overlap with your extraterritorial jurisdictional areas,
Mhm.
because that's probably where that JPC language comes from. So
Right.
we copied that just because, like it was mentioned, this still applies to those. It doesn't
Yeah.
apply to every property in the town, but wherever these special use districts are located, it would still, and some of those must fall within the
We have it with
extraterritorial.
Merton.
So that's
I mean,
probably
as
why
an
that's in there.
example, If one were to put up an establishment on County Line Road,
Mhm.
does the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction of Richfield cover that area? I'm just trying to think of things in the future, not
Where
for this,
applicable
what we have
JPCs.
to deal with.
JPC. So we could
So-
keep the JPC in if we don't have a JPC in whatever property that is, the plan commission doesn't move it to a JPC.
Okay, thank you. That's the only comments I have. I apologize for going
And-
on and on about this.
I just want to add that we would like to have a town-wide lighting standard that's more clear and that changes language. Again, this is not the long-term fix. This is a short-term item. So in the future, lighting standards would apply town-wide, not just to the special use districts. It
And
wouldn't
so-
just be part of this addendum. They would be in a separate section.
And I'm just going to just fix that statement by Orrin, because when we make that change, it will be village-wide.
So one thing, I mean, I live next to a quarrying district. I mean, there are lights 75 feet in the air.
Are there? It's been approved sometime.
Or Ski Hills.
They're on top
Or
of,
ski
but I mean, they're on
hills,
top of the equipment.
Yeah, good example.
I can see them from my house.
Could somebody answer Joe's question as to why
The Pontiac lights was one time.
Oh, Brian did. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I knew there was a reason. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was the height of the trucks and the number of trucks. Okay. Anything other questions or? Jeff, you good?
No, I find the lighting discussion esoteric and of little interest to me, quite frankly. But the height of the lights, that's of concern, of course.
And they still have to abide by the lighting plans where it can't
Right.
exceed past the property line. Right. So it doesn't matter how tall they are, they can't do that.
If you've ever get the opportunity to deal with lighting down in Walworth County around Geneva Lake, you will find out how you can spend hours and hours talking about lighting. Because they have different lighting characteristics.
Ed, anything for you?
No, it's fascinating because what I am thinking is not necessarily the height, but the illumination, you know, the loss of night, loss of what we call dark sky. People complaining about, you know, lights going to that's because that was one of the discussions we had with Casey.
Yeah.
Because of a Lisbon resident who's nearby, that person didn't want all that lighting flooding into their residence. So there's another issue down the line.
Anything else, Joe? Brian?
I know.
Becky?
I'm fine.
I have nothing else either. All right.
Yes, you can.
Item 6, planner report.
So we had several planner appointments before our meeting tonight. A CSM on North Lisbon Road, Wyckoff regarding a pipe bridge, and the ground crafter regarding their grading permit. For next month's plan commission, we have on the horizon a public hearing for these code amendments that we just discussed for off-street parking and lighting, a site plan of operation for a custom car shop, and possibly the site plan of operation for Wyckoff for a proposed pipe bridge. And Songbird will be back for renoticing their public hearing with the 3 tax keys and a more clear description.
All right. Thank you. That'll bring us to item 7, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
By Eberly, second by Nelson. No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out at 8 o'clock on the dot.
Way to go, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming back and getting us on it.